Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Look at our redness for NHK Japan situation.
Okay. I don't know, it was a red feeling day. We were on TSL Live. Jenny was in red as well. So
amazing.
Everyone is on the same wavelength. So for all of you who are new here, this is a skating lesson. We're going to be discussing everything going on at the NHK Trophy this weekend. So if you're new here, please subscribe below. Jonathan, sad news to start out with Daria Usacheva.
What happened? No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, we all know it's devastating. It was so hard to watch, Dave.
Yeah. Especially because it happened. So it happened on the takeoff, the injury, and in the air, the fall itself looks not great, but because you could tell already in the air she's wincing and trying to protect her body, and it's likely an avulsion fracture, which means that the ligament muscle pulled off part of the bone. So
now we love a Dave Lees moment with as the blade turns right on it, gives me the whole thing. But it is interesting that you bring this up, because as I was trying to read about what happened almost right out the gate, as you were summarizing so well, and then subsequent articles, it was such mixed messaging about what was happening. Was she injured before? They were talking about the back of her leg before, but then people were eager to say, no, it happened in the moment. Some people said it was a T-word kind of fracture, and now, which looked very serious and required surgery, and now it's this other thing. So the latest is that it's this kind.
I mean, it's likely the way that it happened with the pre-rotation and the force, and that would be something where she would have some muscle pain ahead of time, through training, and they're all training a lot with the Olympic season, but also this camp does more numbers than anyone. But let's really be honest about part of the misinformation. Have you noticed that any time someone has gotten injured in Team Tutberidze since, definitely since the spring, but definitely this year, Anna Sherbakova, Alexandra Trusova, and now Daria Usacheva, we are not getting official information. There's obfuscation, there's a lot of smoke being blown and things happening and no official word ever happening. And then they'll talk medical privacy. You have to think that they're very aware of the criticism coming their way. And you have to think, people don't pay attention to skating in a big way. But I mean, I don't know if you remember those little girls in pretty boxes, but hello, they used to write about, how tiny and slight the gymnasts were, the injuries, everything. I mean, if you watch the Evgenia Medvedeva documentary that was on Japanese television in 2018, from covering the 2018 season, and then you look at what's happening now, it's not a surprise, right? That
I know it's unfortunate. This expiration date phenomena for their skaters, is really in full swing, and it's on the heels of. There's a lot of shaming of the athlete, and now we've known it with Kostranaia because clearly there's some personal stuff going on in the background. But it almost seemed like so many people, from my perspective, jumped on the bandwagon to be like, Daria did something wrong on the jump. It was really quick to say she did it, and she did it in the moment.
Well, they want to blame the athlete. The Alexei Zeleznyakov, the off-ice choreographer, master of the boogie woogie, he was saying he trained too hard, right? Now, obviously, they want these girls to train hard. She was the one that they wanted to get a triple axel or quad over the summer. They have them together so that they could train hard. Just last week, Danny G was rolling his eyes, saying that Kostranaia didn't work hard enough. If you saw that interview, and people were trying to be like, no, he wasn't shading her. Now, it was trending on Twitter that Alyona deserves better. I have to think that Terry's pretty smart about the PR game. He likely said too much and spoke too freely, even though this is not the first time he was rude about Kostranaia in an interview. When he was discussing the programs for the season, he also shaded her and said it wasn't Shailene Bourne's fault, it was Kostranaia's fault that the program was so bad.
But he shades everyone. I mean, even thinking about, I always go back to Shoma when he went and tried to train with them for a while. And he was so eager to just slam these students, and their PR game is so good that I am surprised that Terry lets him just run his mouth like that.
Well, there are some cultural differences of what you can say and can't say, right? Because in some cultures, the coach is more valued than others, right? But and it's not necessarily maybe she isn't working that hard, but to then slander your own student is just something that's, not really.
When to the outside world, I think you're the most absurd part of the team, in my personal opinion, is like a lot of the problem I have with the direction of this just one camp dominating everything is the choreography.
Well,
so I was like,
your attitude, right? That
yeah,
these competitions, and he has seemed to become more cantankerous over the last several years.
Great word for it. Yeah.
And have more of an ego that we hear. However, I think we can see that Terry seems pretty smart, that all of a sudden they pulled that back, and he was on TV saying, oh, I worked with Coach Naya the last couple of days. Everything is great. She's working so hard. Mm-hmm. Now, on one hand, Bella Carola used to badmouth his athletes in the press, and then they would all of a sudden work harder. He did it with Kim Zemaskal in 1991. He said that, she'd gone through puberty, and he was like, oh, she's, injured because she's lazy. And Kim apparently wasn't always the best in training. And he did it with Betty Aquino before the 92 Olympics. It might be motivation, it's abuse, emotional abuse, in many respects. So they're going to do whatever that it takes.
Yeah.
To get.
And again, sadly, expendable numbers are possible for them.
Fortunately, yeah. I mean, one people are like, it's just sport. Yes and no. Yes, it is sport. Injuries happen, but you think you're seeing the number of fractures and an Olympic season from this team. It just feels like a crescendo of things that have been building over time. And you see, people fighting. You see Anna Sherbakova like falling in practice, not making the quads, like doing everything she can to, but those things can cause injuries. That can cause, when people are going beyond their limits, it's such an extreme level. And then you think that the girls in skating are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller to get these rotations around. And it's also, you have to look at the judging system and the way that these judges are, that any of these jumps are rewarded. And, that we don't see, people can talk about like the pre-rotation technique and things like that. I mean,
but no one's telling them they have to change it. And that was my thing. Like when you look at the team, clearly something very fascinating happens there where they do get consistency in a time when not a lot of people can achieve that same kind of consistency. I wish the judges would send a message, and just no one does. And it's like a broken record. We've talked about PCS. We've talked about how everyone anchors on the one number and just kind of fills in the rest around the same. I would love for these programs, for these skaters to have like, okay, they go fast. Here's some skating skills. Yeah, they got a bunch of weird, cluttery transitions. Here's the score. Here's zero choreography. Here's zero composition. You know what I mean? I wish it would balance out, because again, if you're this camp, there's no reason for you to change. Well, the fans think there is, but the judges don't tell them that there is.
They don't have to, and that's all part of the game. I would look at even the GOE, and I would look at from step sequences to the jumps and how they're rewarded. I'm sorry, but the GOE tends to be reputational as well, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
You're seeing, Daria, lovely skater. I can't say that her triple lutz or triple flip is worth the same as Kaori Sakamoto's triple lutz, triple toe, right?
Yeah.
If there's a difference in quality, or Wakaba, or when Wakaba is a triple axel, is it the same as when, someone, tries to eke it around?
Right.
Not all of these jumps are the same. And I think how do you fix a, subjectively judged sport? I do think that the rules, we focus so much on the landing, not much on the takeoff. I think that's kind of the next frontier. And that can hurt skaters across several countries, not just the Russians. Alysa Liu, we dinged for things like that. But yeah, I do think that that's something that can make a dent.
Watching the warm-up though, like seeing someone, I like Daria's skating, like she's someone I root for. And so to just see someone so young and just in such pain, it was really upsetting. And I'm sorry, and again, maybe this is cultural, no one knows what's happening behind the scenes. It was not, if I had a devastating injury and was that hurt, I would have looked for a little more warmth. I wanted to scoop her up and say, I'm sorry this has happened, it's okay. Like,
so I have gotten hurt, and the coach was not warm, but it's also a tactic to like calm people down and reduce hysteria, and to control the situation around, and maybe it's just how the coach is. But I just know,
see.
I mean, I hurt my ankle twice where I couldn't, walk out of there, right? So, and one time I thought my season was over, and
Right.
and almost even the people around you give like space, even rather than have everyone come up to you and be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a couple reasons for that. They're also in a competitive setting, right? So you have to think about the other athletes on the warm-up. If you see someone going down, you're going to get freaked out. And that's emotionally going to affect you. Not even just having to go earlier, but seeing someone go down, it could happen to you as an athlete too.
Right.
So I think the fact that the coach actually, it's not the most, like, I think as a viewer, we want to go like hug the person and take care of them. Keeping it that sense of normalcy and trying to get it out of there. I mean, obviously the other people on the warm-up are going to be affected. They're also athletes at the highest level that are trained to block things out. But it is.
But you saw like a brief hiatus in the warm-up, like suddenly everyone just skated around days for just a second before they could kind of like be like, oh, what's going on? And again, very confused. I thought Unsu obviously handled it quite well. Actually, she was in conversation with her coaches, but you could tell like they weren't announcing on the warm-up that Daria withdrew. You wouldn't really know. I'm sure Scott Hamilton would find a way to blame Tanya Harding for this somehow, but like, it's just sort of like Unsu I was, for a skater that has not always been so mentally strong in competition, actually, I was very impressed with the way she seemed to just sort of take her time, figure this out. Oh, leave the ice? Okay, great. Oh, go back on the ice? Okay, it was a weird situation. Yeah.
That's really hard. And then I think, she did miss her triple Lutz triple toe. She was able to tack on a double toe to her triple flip, which is not always her best jump. So, she was very impressive in the short program, had some struggles in the free. And I feel for Unsu, because it seems like she's trying to get her career back on track and it's not fully happening. And
it seems a little too late. If this had been the move, there is a different fire, like especially in the short program, like less so here than in her previous Grand Prix, but like I was like, oh, we needed this just like maybe 2 seasons ago, and I think you'd be right back in it probably.
And obviously, she's a lot taller than she was before, so some of that is impacting why we've seen the inconsistency. She's an adult, woman now. It's just different, and I don't know that she still has so many special qualities on the ice that you hope that she can put together. She's falling behind some of the other Korean ladies. There are just so many who are so good. It's just, she still remains one of the most beautifully packaged skaters, has great music choices, but it's difficult. Although Moulin Rouge, long in the tooth at this point.
Yes, correct. But she still has that sort of like ability to project and perform that, again, you just come with. She just has that special thing. But you're right. A lot of her
look, it's the whole Jill Treadery pageant.
That's right. That's right. If she does, those boots are made for walking. We're in trouble, though.
Well, you look at someone like Kaori, and you're like, she could use some of what Unsu has, in terms of the overall presentation, the choreography. Benoit was fighting with people on Twitter about the program, or talking, sassing back and forth. And the Gladiator Now We Are Free that everyone is using. I remember I saw Nicole Bobek use it once, and it was a moment. I don't think it's super effective for Kaori or the other skaters. I don't know. I don't know that it's a kind of reflective piece, so that you'd see at the end of a movie typically. I don't know that it works for Kaori in a short program. Like, you'd almost use it at like the end of a free skate. It's a strange choice for me. And for her, athletically, she looked fantastic here. My overall thoughts on her posture and her overall presentation haven't changed, but she was clearly the best here
of the field. Yeah. And it is a weird packaging thing, and I know people always have mixed ideas when we talk about packaging, but she had this sort of like strappy thing in the short that almost encouraged the aesthetic of a rolled shoulder. And I thought, oh gosh, if anything, I would have maybe designed something to give more the illusion that the shoulders were more open. Yeah, instead it sort of told my eye she was even more in than she was. It's you know, she's someone you root for because the combos are so exciting in a field that was full of under rotations and kind of swirly landing moments. Like, it's nice to see someone just so confidently landing things with such speed. And I kind of root for her in a way, but when she came on for the free, I was like, oh, right, this program.
Mm.
You know, when I was the... So
the one person was saying that, I guess Benoit posted freedom, and someone said, give her the freedom to go back to the piano. Look, I think that... and
I mean, that's a clever play on words. That's all I'm...
Look, I think that music elevated her. I've been consistent with this. I think it has more Olympic potential than this program about being a woman. I don't. There's a lot of programs about woman, you know, at NHK this week. You know,
and I can't tell who is the singer. Like, it's just surprising to me because at first, and I mean no disrespect by this, but I thought a man was singing at first. I mean, it's just such a low register that, like, when I wasn't like honed into the words, I was like, wait, what? It almost, you know, like a Tracy Chapman, like sultry low vibe. So I just was working hard again. If I'm working so hard as an audience member to get what I'm supposed to take away from this, it didn't quite land for me. And again, she's an exciting skater we're rooting for. So just give us power.
I'm getting my program choreographed in the coming weeks. Can we just not talk about Lindsay Thorngren, Samson and Delilah, or any sort of things in this? Just, you know, if we're going there.
Just gonna leave the Bible stories right on.
Okay. We have some, you know, I don't know what you care about murdering clowns or what, but, you know, I'm not offended. All right, it's all good.
Because are you doing Pagliacci?
Yes, I am doing it. So we decided. So
the original It, the operatic It.
Fantasy Impromptu was a little fast for me at this point. So what was so funny is that someone said, do you have enough drama to do that? I was like, who are you talking to, honey? Like,
amazing, yeah, exactly. And again, to do Pagliacci does not necessarily mean you will now pantomime a death scene by a clown. You know, like,
no pantomiming happening. There'll be no clown happening.
Could you imagine like a bloody clown suit?
There will be big grand skating with big arms and big gestures. You know,
big beautiful moments in that opera. Incredible. Yeah.
But yeah, we're just anyway moving along. I feel better than the Blues about it. So
okay. So you're denying your Polish heritage. You're leaning in a bit more into some Italian.
I've got some big things to accomplish mentally, like hurdles to do it. I just think having like fiery music will help me get in the zone too.
Yeah, optimize your chance for success. I totally am behind that.
Well, I always pick music that's like very lyrical and stuff. I can't say that it helps rev me up to land the jumps, right? Yeah. Like, it's lovely and I enjoy skating to it, but I can't say it's like exciting, you know, to go and do it. So
I gotcha.
Something new, an experiment. We'll see. You know, I'll report back.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think being the prettiest, you know, is always, you know, going to make you do that.
Yeah, that fight instinct. I mean, that's sort of the argument about so much of this emo music. Who is inspired and like revs up is in warrior mode, skating to like breakup music. Yeah.
I have to say that, you know, I'm staying with my friend and she's hearing this music on in the background and it's boring and awful and depressing. And in general, when you're hearing about someone leaving a light on for you, but you're wearing gray and it sounds really sad, I don't believe that they're going to leave the light on for me. And I don't want to sit for that many minutes. It's just, it makes me
sounds
sad.
like this is a private moment. I shouldn't be watching you.
You and your therapist. Why is everyone wearing gray? Tyler Cranston told us you don't win in gray. This is just...
Yeah. Unless you demand a second gold medal, like the Canadian players.
They didn't win, Jonathan. They got the silver. Okay. And
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Asterisks. I have to say, Mana Kawabe, interesting talent. I don't know if she can be ready for the Olympics, because when we see in the short program that she can do the triple axel, and then you see the scary fall in the triple axel in the free,
right?
Like, okay, it's too soon. But this is a talent.
She takes turns having moments, because in Canada, she really did have a moment in the free skate. Like there was like kind of this solid moment. It's fascinating to me being with Mia Hamada and all this sort of stuff. The material for the free in particular, a little questionable, not always listening, like the opening, like I don't know, shimmy move. I wasn't really following this packaging a little bit. She's an exciting talent, but you do remember like, oh man, they have tough decisions ahead of them in Japan.
I just want to send her to a Sandra Bezic or someone.
Because I think she can do it. I just was surprised by these choices in the free in particular.
Yeah, I really liked the difficult turns that she did. And I thought that they were really impressive, that they just flowed as easy parts of choreography. And some of the transitions that she was doing were very difficult. Just things that were just looked like nothing, but different than the other skaters and has something special. It needs more experience and consistency, but a real talent in Japan. And
a real moment for her. Like this was a game changer, I feel, for her.
In doing a triple axel, and you have to think next season, you don't know who's going to be around, who's sticking around from this season to next season, but you know, she could be 1 year more experienced and more confident and more trained, and that's a talent for Japan and for the world. So
yeah,
exciting there. We thought it would be Reno coming in, and Mana was the one that really, you know,
well, she showed us glimpses of it again in Canada. Like
I got the Japan Open.
Yeah, like it's there. It's intriguing. So
yeah. What do you think of Young Yu?
This was interesting to me. It's interesting because her triple axel, she's not one I trust with it sometimes. Like I almost anticipate these sorts of situations. And then again, for her to be able to turn around and do something else, it somehow has that Colorado vibe to it. Like you're sort of, the ingredients are there. There's some really good stuff, but I don't quite put it together. And I think this bronze medal was a lovely moment for her. But you do see 2, 3, 4, they were all right there. If someone had decided to just, if Alysa had been able to rotate a little bit more, or, you know, something like that. Like, I don't know, there's a disconnect for me with Young Yu at the moment. I think she's a very strong competitor, but I wonder about that triple axel. What would you think at this point in the season?
I always wonder about her pattern on the triple axel, the angle going in.
It looks just so different than everyone else's.
It looks like she's kind of back in a car and we're going out the garage.
And there's a bit of delay. Is that right? Like, I feel like, I almost wonder if she's contemplating bailing or something. So I feel like the timing of the entrance always confuses me.
She does have big jumps that are very exciting.
Yeah.
I don't trust the axle and I don't trust the quad. So, and I don't think it to be rotated. Even the triple had a problem with rotation here. The Tammy Gamble staple, but I don't know.
The callers were busy at this event. That is for sure.
Skatingscores.com. Go look at Vincent's protocol, Alysa Liu.
Red. Yeah.
Carrot cake. Okay.
All over the place. Yeah. But for a lot of skaters, it was, yes, Vincent obviously hit very hard. But Alysa hit very hard too. Very, very hard.
And with Alysa,
I don't recall her. Listen, I know that there have been under rotation situations in the past and questions about maybe the way she was eking some of this out. But compared to Canada, this seemed like there was a bit of a step backwards here.
I don't relax when I watch Alysa jump because you see the twitch on the takeoff and then the swirl around on the landing. I am excited by Alysa as a competitor and as a talent and as someone who goes out. Sometimes the actual jumps, especially when you look at like the flip and the Lutz and the triples are tough in the second half to believe.
Because wasn't she doing, I thought she was one of those that was doing the Lutz Euler flip at some point, but she changed it. I think she did not do that combo here. She replaced the second jump with something easier. And I wondered, they must be futzing around with the content of it here. Because I remember I wanted to mention that it can't, because it's just such a unique combination to see. And when everything's so formulaic, it's just nice to switch it up and see something like that. But here I'm pretty sure they changed it.
So no, she did do the triple Lutz Euler triple flip here. So it was a triple Lutz Q, Euler triple flip under, and then she did the triple flip double axel sequence, and she got.
That's what I was thinking of. Okay.
That exclamation point on one flip, but not the other. She got the Q on one flip and the under on the other. So, and she got double axel, triple toe Q, triple axel Q. So yes, a lot of red. and that's going to be something. We also have to think about being tired at this point, because every competition she's done has been important, right? She had to build her reputation to get to Nebelhorn, which was very important for her career, especially after having a weak season last season for her, coming off of 2 national titles and then not,
right,
in the top 3. Moving ahead and getting that momentum going to Nebelhorn, securing the spot, performing well there, coming off in the first Grand Prix event. Now you're at the second. Like, now your body and your mind are just, there's a come down,
yeah. And I have to say, so I did the back-to-back Vegas to Vancouver situation as an observer, and I was exhausted. Like, I forget, like, this is a young athlete who just traveled to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
There is it, 12-hour time difference, whatever it is, like, there is jet lag, there is the effect from being on the plane, there is the fatigue of being in a new place. I don't know, like, I do try to give more credit once I remembered how much travel is involved also. Like, that has got to be so brutal for these athletes, this like constant turnaround.
For Vincent, the same. I mean, at this point, they're at a marathon, and at some point you just need to be home and rest and then train.
Yeah.
I think for her, the fact that, not making the final, but showing 2 solid enough performances for US lady standards.
She'll be, I would assume, the top American on the.
Good thing, but then you're going to think they'll probably send her to Zagreb and then send her, to nationals and then send her to the Olympics. But at some point, you do hope that they can train and peak and get ready, because you do want to have that time before, the most important competitions of your life. So,
yeah.
Maybe she doesn't need Zagreb this year. That would be my thing, but maybe it's in their plan to go out and do it and try the triple axel, and maybe she feels fine. But that would be my concern. But I'm looking at this as an older person who's like, oh, I'm tired.
But same, actually. And I was like, no wonder John Nix and Frank Carroll and all these guys at some point were like, I'm done. Like, I will coach you at home, but I am not traveling with you to these things. It is so exhausting. I do not envy them for that.
Then the coaches have to go at the rink the next day, because those parents,
right.
Also, you don't get paid. You don't show up the next day. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's tough. It's
well, I wonder if Alysa is also someone who motivates by competition. Like, if Zagreb like gave her something to work towards and like that helps with the training, like, go for it. But like, again, she was so strong and it just seems to be slipping a little. And it seems like burnout a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think about Amber Glenn? Skate America was a step forward. I think this was, I have to say, a step back for me watching her when I'm looking at where she falls in.
I mean, to me, this is a non discussion for the team. I mean, for someone who like almost threw her name in the ring there, like, again, we've seen in this season a couple of opportunities in a couple of disciplines in a couple of countries. There's doors that are wide open for someone to really make a move. And it's interesting, some people just let that moment go. And unfortunately, she seems to be falling into that category. The triple axel attempt in the short, very odd.
Yeah, and the mistakes in the free, I think, had every opportunity to actually legitimately throw her name in the ring, right, at this point. And especially after, if she could have built a momentum of Skate America, but this is why we haven't seen Amber at the big events, right? And
do you think it's that she doesn't think she can actually be in the mix?
I don't.
Or do you? Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, like, does she realize she could actually have done this?
She has the jump. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I would give her all the point when she lands the jumps. Why not?
Yeah. She has as good a shot as any going into the season. But again, sort of, I thought she sent the message already at Cranberry. Like, to me, that was a rough way to begin. And so even an okay moment at Skate America, I think the damage is done, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know what the consistency is. I mean, she's got talent, she has personality, she has some of the ingredients that you want for in a top skater. I don't know. That would be interesting to really.
As a viewer, I just get like a disorganized vibe from the skating, from the jumps, from the program, I'm just like,
yes, and it's from the music to the packaging to everything. I just would do an overhaul, but that's I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say, you talk about doors opening. Wakaba is someone who we are on a roller coaster with her this season. Look, she is improving. She's having a better season than I think we've seen her have consistently. And yet there's room for improvement with those triples in the second half. Not knowing how she's doing in Austria in the free yet, but yesterday doing that triple axel in the short program, huge hurdle, needs to do it to put herself.
And was rewarded accordingly. Do you know what I mean? It was interesting. So I'm sorry to interrupt. Did we get the scoop on why all of Russia withdrew from that event?
No, we just know illness from Tuktamisheva.
Okay.
And Mishin was very quiet, and he said, when I'm
because
quiet.
Diana Davis was also supposed to have been there in the dance. So there were several Russian entries that were supposed to be there that made it a little more interesting, because I thought, why is Tuktamisheva doing it? And I thought maybe she's going to try some new content. Maybe I don't know what she's going for. Like, I would have been really intrigued, because I think someone like Wakaba is using it exactly the way she should. Yeah. Let me test run the triple axel in the short program.
I mean, I hope that they pulled out for a strategic reason. It said illness. They didn't say what. So you hope, like, people pulled out. Remember, right? Sasha Cohen was only doing one event, and the rumor was, they just don't want to do the final. But you don't know. You would hope. Right. Oh, listen, Tuktamisheva has had such strong starts to the season, only to get sick, only to miss the worlds, or you just hope things are falling into place for her, and you hope that this momentum rises. But I don't know. I mean, the stress and the travel, again, you talk about illness and everything. And so, but I think with
a big moment for Wakaba, that was exciting.
If she can do that triple axel in both programs, maybe add a second triple axel in the free, or get that triple or both, then you start to see about how good she could be. So, I don't know what their peaking plan is in terms of content, but she has to get people behind her in Japan. They have a lot of good options, and they
really do. Yeah.
She's competing against Maimihara, Satsuko, Kaori. I mean, these are people, beloved in Japan. So, Mana is an option. So, but I'm impressed with the last two seasons that Wakaba has committed to putting out the triple axel, and seems to be taking the steps to improve and move forward. We've seen more consistency. So I'm hopeful that we will see more consistency in this free program today. I will say the one thing that I noticed about Wakaba, and we were compared to Fear and Gibson as we moved to dance, is that she can really skate up to the Lion King music, which has some big orchestral moments. And I don't find that the British dance team of Fear and Gibson is as successful in that.
Yeah, I mean, just again, because these are two performers, and we know they have that thing. And you're like, okay, Lion King, I guess on paper that should make sense to me, but there's something not open and grand enough about those moments. And maybe that's the requirements of the moves they need to put out. But I was like, yeah, I needed it to be more awesome. And again, they were a team I was intrigued to see what they did in the rhythm dance, because they could have really done, and it was like close. I don't know, their material was all okay to me.
Their material has good idea, but poor execution in some respects, or good idea and almost execution and things to work on. I think the skating has to be bigger and more confident and consistent. It
was certainly a step up from Canada. That is for sure. Yeah.
And I think everyone likes this team. So everyone wants them to do well, but then you start to see, did Madonna require smaller skating? Did Madonna have more dance and less edge?
Glide. Yeah.
Right, less glide.
Yeah.
And Lion King has more glide, less dance.
Again, doesn't it stand to reason then that the rhythm dance should be such a slam dunk for them? Because it's literally the requirement, is that it's more sort of like standy dancey stuff.
And I love his eyeliner going on in it. They're dealing with Olympic season pressure also.
Yeah.
And setting themselves up for the next 4 years. And they're becoming more and more of a contender with each time. And that has to be different as well. They don't seem to have the same momentum as when everyone was behind them. The Vogue, the first year that they did the Vogue program, just everyone was just like, yes.
It's almost funny, because I think Smart and Diaz have picked up where they left off. like the fan responses, the material in both rhythm dance and free dance are the ones that draw us in the way I think Fear and Gibson are used to drawing people in.
And that can elevate you a couple places, right? Especially when you have the consistency and the momentum of competition to competition. When everyone's behind you, I'm sure you just want to skate and it's great. And you start to think, yes, we can. I think we're seeing that with Green and Parsons until they fell at the last competition. But they were on the trajectory. Obviously, Hawaii and Baker are supposed to be here. Them not being here right after we filmed, they withdrew. That makes things more interesting in the US, what will happen.
Yeah.
But it was Fear and Gibson. I think there is a lot of talent. They need more power in the twizzles, more consistency and more ice coverage to really look senior and strong and grand and like contenders. And that's been a weakness in the past and a bigger weakness, I think, here. They're so fun. Even you see at the end of the program, their charisma comes to life, which we don't see in all of these teams. But yeah. How about this Japanese ice dance battle going on?
I know, because we're going to talk about the Spanish one too. Like, and these do really interest me.
So interesting. So this is a team, one, it's for the Olympics. Tim Coletto got married for, has Japanese citizenship, only for fan favorite Daisuke to switch disciplines. You know what I was thinking? Remember, he was a Meryl Davis super fan. Do you remember like Meryl Davis, like, loves her, like, huge fan. They even did the ballroom.
Tim or Daisuke?
Daisuke, right?
Oh, no, I did not know this. Okay.
Meryl Davis, like, super fan. And now skating with Meryl's coach, with Marina, he's like living his Meryl Davis dream. Okay. Like, if only he were doing Scheherazade. But I have we talk about like how much a program is worth, or like with the amount of money. That free dance that Daisuke does, and I know that people love the rhythm dance because he does actual like hip hop type dancing that just authentic and pulls it off, which is
unlike what anyone else is doing. Yeah.
The free dance is so interesting and has so many pictures and unexpected moments and keeps you engaged. I mean, this is what you see when you have a master coach like Marina Zueva, who can just put all of her retired energy into one team and just like have fun.
That must inspire her. Like, I don't know. I don't know what her relationship is like with either one, but she seems to be really devoting the time and energy to them. Like, it's a beautiful program. And again, we're a little bit oversaturated with Marie France teams, although they do a very good job at keeping the variety among them. There was that period around Sochi where it was like, okay, we're having a little bit of Marina overload. Like everything, but it has been so long since she's been out there. So this aesthetic just stands out by being so different, so classy, so elegant. I understand, although like, whoa, he's like shredded. Like he's like got some like gun action in that rhythm dance.
Better with the lifts here. Sometimes they're more questionable, his lifts.
Yeah, but I wondered if that was the strategy to be like, look at how ripped he's become. Like those opening, like amazing gestures he did. I was like, this is insane what you have going on here. And some of the dancing moments, some of the rotational lifts, it's like, okay, I still see new partnership logistics being sorted out. But the material, again, it just grabs me and I'm interested in it. But they made it close enough. Yes, Daisuke was ahead in both programs, but it's still within reach. It's still within reach.
So Masato and Tim have been so consistent and working and steadily getting better. Daisuke has that wow factor. You are overlooking some things. It is great.
But you do that for people you stan. You know what I mean? Like it happens everywhere. We ignore a lot of things for the top skaters.
Yeah. I mean, the GOE could go either way when you're looking at it. The components are certainly better for
Are you on skatingscores.com?
Yeah.
Did judges, did they debate which Japanese team to put on, or was there kind of a consensus about putting Daisuke ahead?
USA put Daisuke ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine put Daisuke ahead. Japan, Russia.
Japan did. Okay, that's the real statement.
It was pretty decisive. Yeah.
Okay.
In the
Because again, like when we talk about the rhythm dance with Chock and Bates versus Vicky and Nikki, like there was some discrepancy. People were moving things. But okay, it seemed like this victory for Daisuke was pretty decisive then.
at least in terms of, by a couple of points. Although that's either way. But I think now the Spanish team is interesting because I find that Sada Hurtado has so much charisma and performance, but I don't think the programs are good enough. I don't think
it looks cheap. It looks like sleazy to me. Both programs, I was like, where I think that something is vintage in an amazing way about the Marina program for Daisuke, I view there's something vintage in an icky old dance, like kind of tawdry. I don't know. It seemed very lowbrow. Gratuitous. I don't know why I was such a prude about it, because we're also going to talk about how I was a real prude about Vicky's outfit, where I was like, am I just looking at someone in a thong skate a 4 hour or it felt like 4 hours, a 4-minute program? Like this, if I'm noticing it and it's taking me out of the performance, like it's distracting. She looks beautiful when the dress was there, but in a lot of the skating, I was like, this is not appropriate. I need a Vanessa Riley costume deduction up in here. Yeah. So
I mean, she's giving us a lot of leg, Vicky.
Yeah, she is, and a lot of backside.
Vicky and Nikki, his shirt, doing the Commodores in the shirt. First of all, it looked like he's
on Versace or something. Yeah.
I thought it was like Weekend at Bernie's. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But
you got someone under there that's going to help you twizzle.
So, okay, I debate with my coach Igor Lukanen, who they came up originally at Averbrook School, and he worked with them for several months when like Averbrook was doing a show or something. When Nikita was very young and Elena, and and they do have some very good fundamentals to their skating. I do find when they do the Commodores, it's so out of character for them, and it's laughably bad.
It has a talent show at the mall vibe a little bit to it. Yeah.
It's cringy in a way that white people ice dancing to street dance is cringy in general, but this is one of the leading ones. But also Nikita was also cringy when he was doing Singing in the Rain. So
right.
Every time he shows joy, I think we cringe. He needs to be dark and brooding. That's really
well, because something about the joy seems a little artificial, right? So it's when it's so forced and over the top, you're kind of like, why? What is happening here? And there's just an inherent in both. He kind of went flowy, shirty in the free dance as well. And one of the things
a little Ricky Martin-esque to me.
Yeah, but the center of gravity for him when he gets overexcited becomes so high, and so there's like an inherent sloppiness that I get. It's not like a tight, slick thing. She makes a beautiful picture. They have an interesting choreographic slide move moment, but like, I don't know. In general, it seems haphazard, and the costuming sort of exacerbates that, I feel. I don't understand why they're so decisively second, I guess, in the world, it seems.
The Russian press is like trying to find those 5 points to make them number one. If you read that,
I was like, right now, I don't understand. You're barely holding on to number 2, in my opinion. Well, judges, in the rhythm dance,
Vesnianova was very upset that Chock and Bates were 0.3 behind, 0.31. And the rhythm dance, I just will say that in terms of just movement quality, I thought the Chock and Bates had something on them.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Not an actual like skating per se, but just the way she can move her body and move around to the Billie Eilish was just more appealing.
And it was just a bit tighter, like the whole preparation, the presentation of it, the thoughtfulness into the material of itself, like, yeah, I don't know. The other things seem slapped together.
But, it's interesting that we've talked about Hubble and Donahue missing moments. Because I have to say that I think in 2020, it was really Chock and Bates' moment to go for a bronze or maybe a Hail Mary silver at Worlds. You never know what could happen, but I think a bronze was, very likely. You look at them, nationals last year, coming at worlds this season, it seems like a lot of mistakes and a lot of missed moments and opportunities. And for him to, I mean, just like a freak fall right off the bat, but it's becoming a pattern. And Evan is actually making more mistakes. And you have to wonder with his health and how long he's been at it for, if these things happen more, but it does feel like they're missing the mark or they're missing the moment, even when they are in it, you know, and it's interesting to see kind of how it's been falling apart a little bit. So I don't know, but I think it's more Hubble and Donahue's than Chock and Bates' choice going into the nationals. Just the perception, even though it's a silver medal, and you know, but hard to kind of look at that and feel confident that they're going to pull it off. I mean, we'll see at the final. So that would be exciting, but I would put my money on Hubble and Donahue to be ahead of Chock and Bates at this point in time. Consistency, you know,
but what confuses me now is where Piper and Paul fit into that. Again, like to compare the scores from competition to competition, I mean, it's so silly, but Piper and Paul seem the top North American team. Having seen the Hubble Donahue and the Piper and Paul and the Chock and Bates live, I don't know.
I want to go lift by lift and twizzle by twizzle, and I think that's
and actually, if I do that, Piper and Paul drop a little bit.
Well, sometimes
at the moment, because they have some of those like awkward logistics to work through. Still,
we're dealing with a schmaltzy free dance. We're dealing with and we're dealing with a romance in space. So between an alien and an astronaut, this is
Right.
Real Sophie's choice, if you will, for a bronze medal. I mean,
so that's where Vicky and Nikki can actually thrive, because they're sort of like the least polarizing with their material in the free. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like
a Russian skating to Rachmaninoff. I mean, it's just fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know, but it was just fine. I don't know. I was afraid there was going to be a move to make sure their score was near the French. And I was glad actually the scores were such that Chock and Bates almost took them. That restored my faith a little bit. But again, I think about that rhythm dance for Vicky and Nikki. Again, performance PCS scores 975 and things like that. And you're like, you're telling me this was like one notch away from perfection? We should show this at ISU seminars and say, this is our gold standard.
The gold standard of night dance. Vicky and Nikki dance to the Commodores.
Exactly, an oversized knockoff Versace.
Is there a chain? Does he have a chain? I feel like it has the vibe of a chain. I need to go back and look.
It certainly would fit if there was. But yeah, it's that like gold swirly, all that everywhere. Yeah.
You know, I feel like Nikita, Roman, and Kolya Morozov are just going to take us to the bars in Brooklyn when I see such a costume. You know, that's
as like that ensemble that like just like walks in together, and you know that like everyone in the bar is like, oh, here they come. Smells like Aqua Velva. Yeah.
Oh man, bottle service. Moving on to the pairs.
Yes.
Tarasova,
where to begin?
Tarasova and Morozov. All the pressure and expectations of, is this team going to beat Sui and Han? And now they've fallen behind Mishina and Galliamov. And Terry doesn't have a gold medal at NHK from this Grand Prix. She was originally going to sweep the ladies. She didn't even get a gold medal in the pairs. She has to deal with this press after her student got injured. What is going on with Diana? She doesn't have a second Grand Prix assignment, Jonathan. This is not a Terry's weekend right now. What is happening? Did she even get to go to the salon in Japan? Like, do we know? All right.
She looked dazed in that kiss. First of all, also the kiss and cry, you have to be separated from your own coach by a divider. That was a unique requirement.
You know, you just spent all that time together, like at the hotel, backstage.
Without your masks. Yeah, like, I don't understand. And some people had fun with it. Like, I don't remember who it was, but they were like clawing at their coach, and it was like kind of a funny moment. But
your coach is going to yell at you, and you can just be like...
Yeah, I was like, for some, they'd be like, this is preferred. Like a privacy thing in the limo, like bring up the... It was interesting though,
With the
because
first class curtain to go between the coach and the
that's right. Yeah. Just like mid conversation. You're like, okay. It was interesting that he made the jumping error in the free here.
She was
After,
so
yeah.
Not me.
I mean, and she did it, like, you know, so again, their inherent quality is just so lovely. And their throws, she was having some difficulty, but they are so high and so beautiful. But she does, you almost are like throw in the extra revolution and just go.
Why aren't they just doing Rachmaninoff for the free? Yes, they've done standards in the past. Yes. It would be better than this bullshit. I'm sorry. This is just,
so.
They failed at Claire de Lune. I don't understand what happened there. We had a costume.
Yeah, but Claire de Lune's almost not grand enough. They do need like a big warhorse kind of like grand, broad thing, I think.
Well, they're two of the most brooding looking skaters of all time. Of course they need some dark Russian composer energy happening. Of course. Okay.
Yeah. As opposed to a statue he falls in love with or whatever.
Listen, they'd be great for the Bells of Moscow. Okay, I think it would be perfect.
Yes, and with those big dramatic throws, like it would be great. It would be great.
Yes, come on, brooding. Come on, Terry. You think nothing? You could keep the choreography as is.
You knew she would. Yeah.
Also, maybe new dresses, not so gray. See, Terry, maybe you're missing this, and I'm just gonna level with you. Okay. This team is accused of being boring, okay? When we met them, they were skating in Melon, to Lionel Richie.
Right. And remember she had like the treble clef on like one of her dresses early on, and she was the symphony.
It was a little odd, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't interesting. And then Nina Mosher, Elton John tried to get real interesting with Candyman, and we were like, whoa.
Backfired.
Too much unexpected. Russian paint by numbers, Terry. And by that, we don't mean this moody music with an ombre and a too long skirt and a stressed out look that all of the single skaters have.
Right.
You put a nice classy dress, you put on a nice Russian warhorse, you call Sergei Rachmaninoff, and you
give him a buzz.
Day. All right?
Yeah.
So you just do it. You try to be the most Russian, okay?
Yeah.
Just do it.
Lean in, go vintage with them. You know what I mean?
Right? I believe you're leaving a light on for no one. Okay, they leave a light on for you. All right.
Yeah.
So I think that this music has got to go. Okay.
Yeah. Now I still think it's theirs.
Absolutely not. Alyona didn't win with this music. And you know what, Terry? Where's Alyona now? What's she doing? She was skating with TJ Nyman. All right. You just move it along.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I still think they can, if they decide to really show up, I think it's still theirs if they want it. From a term in a Russian scene.
This Mishina and Galliamov program is not it for me. Okay. I'd be okay with that. We are the champions, I have to say. As
they get like pros on like, I don't know, when they do the sow, half loop sow, like we were talking about this when KMT was trying like unique jump combos and stuff, like, yes, they're worth points. Like, yes, this is interesting. And they were getting positive GOE, but I was like, that wasn't a beautiful moment. Like, it's a little out of sync. I understand that it's because it's hard, but like, I don't know why it's being rewarded as much as it is on the GOE.
What a moment about?
Say what?
His pants in the free were great for ratings, is what I would say. Great.
He was doing something with like a cod PC sort of look in the short as well. They're leaning into whatever this situation is.
He looks great. All right.
Yeah.
Great shape for the season.
Exactly.
All the squats. Okay.
Exactly. +5. Yeah.
In a Brian Johnson-like way. It was just really happening for them. I find the ending weird when she's like waiting around for him to lift her up. I find it
looks unfinished. Like, I know that's clearly what the plan is, but something about it seems empty and they're like eggy. It's an eggy moment.
And you know, I want to be a ballerina with a tambourine, but I just don't see it in the short program either. Their programs are misses for me this season. And I like this team. I'm behind the Queen program. I don't know. Another rock program. Just switch out the music. Let's.
Yeah. But not Raucous and Rachmaninoff. Raucous and ROCK. Yeah. Yeah. because they're interesting. There is something interesting. You do kind of root for them. They're sort of, I think, like the elevated Russian version of what Ashley and Tim try to go for, which is like this like unique, funkier, individualistic kind of approach among their countrymen.
It's officially Timothy.
Oh, excuse me. Timothy and Ashley.
Our friend Matt, who has to go by Matthew, one of those.
Well, I'm a Jonathan, not a John. So I would adhere to that. I just didn't realize.
Quite correct. Yes, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Timothy.
They did better here. Her triple loop, I don't think so around, but
their free is just more successful to me. And again, sorry to talk about the packaging so much, but something about his like white shirt and stuff like that in the short, I don't know, it breaks the line, and that's what he has Timothy has that's so interesting. Like, so I don't know, it becomes more effective in the free for me. But again, I was so thrilled that the Japanese did as well as they did here. I know they got some calls on the jumps and stuff like that, because even the pairs weren't immune to it this event. But to see her release, like, again, I know there's pressure, but I think for some of the Japanese skaters, the pressure at NHK is different than an American's pressure at Skate America. It would
energy at your Yogi National Stadium is incredible.
The release. Yeah.
Well, we talk about people riding the wave of momentum, and for them, a trip to the Grand Prix final on the line, right? And a medal on the line, another medal, and moving up in the world of pairs is not easy with the amount of depth and the amount of top quality teams delivering. And but we talk about the skaters who haven't been, Amber Glenn, takes a step forward, step back. This team is consistently.
The door is there and they're charging through it. They're one of the few people this season actually seizing an opportunity. Yeah, it's really nice. And
it's interesting when teams go from, think about how we thought of them at the World Team Trophy last year. Oh, this is a really nice team. They have some really great qualities. Then they've done it, 3 times now. And now we're like, wow, they're really good, right? The consistency and the trust makes you able to appreciate the positives more.
Yeah.
Whereas when Ashley and Timothy do that throw triple lutz, we're like, however, Ashley and Timothy after the Grand Prix, making it very hard, I believe, for Jessica and Brian to make a case to make the Olympic team.
Yeah.
Barring a nationals, uneven disaster happening, have to think Ashley and Timothy inching into really securing a confident body of work going into nationals.
A medal and 4th. I mean, they did their job, and yes, there were like some tight jump moments, some tight throw moments, but no implosion moments like we've seen on the side-by-sides from Jessica and Brian.
Looking more confident, and that gives
spending more time in front of the international judges. Again, like you're saying, the more times they go out and do good enough, that whole mark just keeps getting a smidge higher. So
it's the name of the game, baby.
Yeah.
And the people who are not, the U.S. men here, just Tomoki and Camden. I don't know what is happening in Colorado, but it would not be my first choice for a training center if I were male and a certain age.
Or female, I think. Yeah, it's more of the same. I don't know, like you have talked about in the past, like the idea of the ranch was so good because it was bringing competitors together, right? And so then everyone kind of gets in a similar mindset. Not
the
a centralized training. Yeah,
having people, or at least train together, or how the USFS is trying to put more top skaters together training. This is the theory of the competition. It's just.
But whatever group think has now come out of Colorado, everyone seems to be on the same page, but it's not a great page to be on.
You also have to wonder about like the rink scheduling and how many skaters are on a session, and can you run your programs full out, and do the coaches make you run the programs full out, and which coach are you with? All of this plays into it. So, and are you working on your spins, Camden, or right? Just things like this. Because Camden has gorgeous technique, but I think we've, with Tomoki and Camden, we've seen it so many times where they haven't delivered. And, Nam not having the greatest outing here, and just tough things. But
Making it
Interesting.
difficult for Canada also because Roman had such a tough go at Ski Canada. So it's Canada is also another one. Here's another example. There's an opportunity for a Canadian male other than Keegan to really just seize a moment and solidify a spot here for themselves to the Olympics. And again, neither Nam nor Roman seem to be organized enough to walk through it.
Roman's latest vlog, he was like, well, some little things to clean up. And you're like,
if that's what helps you tackle them, I guess, is to think.
I don't know if that's helpful, right? Like we've got some work to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. But some people say that that's more of a Canadian thing to just, not go too blunt or hard, but I don't know. But Canada's in a pickle with, the men, which one to send and
right.
Yeah. Right. In terms of the men, Makar Ignatov, I think a step forward, obviously. And, we see some good things for the Russian men, some not so great things, between Ignatov and Samarin. Yeah.
And it's interesting because Samarin is one of those, you see that GOE on that quad Lutz triple toe, like when he gets it, and back in the day, he was so much more consistent, but the quad flip and quad Lutz he has produced is actually among the best in the world. And his programming is not nearly as pedestrian as it has been in the past. Like there is some effort to line and program, but again, inconsistency. So we know Kalyada, because of his inherent quality, should be an easy ticket to book for them. The other two, like, I don't know if this is a Semenenko situation, because he just seems to be somewhat consistent, but like an Ignatov, I don't know. He does have that loop that's consistent, but what seems consistent in that rink is that no one trains the full program. So we losing the spins. The spins really just like came to nothing at the end. I think he got like barely a point for like a whole spin at the end. And it just runs out of gas, throwing away points. He could have made a move here, I think, if he just kind of like threw in one more triple instead of one of those doubled out combinations or something.
Kind of the same story at Skate Canada with the Russian men, where we saw such great elements and the program just died, I think.
Yeah.
And allowed Maurici to climb so well in
the
program. How about looking at Vincent here, Vincent Zhou? It's similar to Alysa Liu, where you have to think about how long Vincent has been competing, even before. Remember, we were seeing him doing full longs in the Colorado Championships, and back we were talking like in June.
Right.
Someone guessed the exact date, was it late May, early June? Skating and obviously wanting to right the ship of worlds, but then there's about peaking smartly. So I hope that he has some time to train, but you have to realize he's got the Grand Prix final coming up now, and then nationals, and has to be exhausting, right? The amount of full longs and competitions he's done. Overall, not a good long, but
but not as terrible as I thought. So like the thing about Japan for me is it puts I'm not watching so much of it live. I did watch like some of the ladies live or without knowing the result. So when I saw the result first for the free, I thought, oh no, Vincent, what did you do? I assumed there were bigger disasters. The pop, a couple of squirrely landings, not nearly the disaster I was anticipating. Silver medal, so now he's got a first and a second. Like there are positive takeaways here, but you saw it on his face. Like now we're back to old reputation stuff. Now at that final, everyone's going to be looking extra hard at the landings, where we sort of stopped doing that a little bit this season.
Yeah, obviously the quad Lutz is key in making sure, in fine form and resting to be at optimal shape there. Not awful, and you have to think you're going to have a down before, and better to have a down here than at the final or at nationals before the Olympics, but just a lot of wear and tear and travel. And obviously someone like Nathan has a little bit of an advantage of having done the first two events and then having time to rest and then train. And
which was at first I thought, I'm tired back to back. What the heck he's thinking? But it makes total sense. And we've talked about this in the past, like all that downtime to just make the adjustments and come back could be so beneficial. I was also looking at some of his choreography, especially in the short. The material given to him is excellent. And suddenly, as I was like watching a choreographic sequence or a step sequence, something like that, I thought, oh my gosh, if like a Kolyada was given this same material, some of those balletic leaps and stuff, I think I would be even more like
He just doesn't have that artistic sense to their personality.
Yeah, he's doing his best.
Yeah.
But the material is there. This material could be like outstandingly gorgeous in the right body.
Yeah. Now, how about Shoma? Is Shoma rising? You have to think Hanyu out. Has this happened before where Hanyu's been out with injury and Shoma has stepped up? It might be a timing thing with the training or a confidence thing, but Shoma really did kind of step through the door. I mean, we saw one double in the free, but overall the landings were better and it looked more cohesive.
Were you surprised by the lack of a quad flip in the free?
Well, was that what was the pumped like later double flip, right? But
I couldn't quite understand because I would have thought he would have put it in like earlier in the program. The loop, it was nice to see the loop working for him.
I'd rather see like clean quads without that flip. It's just my personal opinion.
Yeah,
personal.
Fair enough.
It kind of is a little scary. But the loop is gorgeous when it does it, and yeah, I don't know.
More secure landings than I expected.
And loops than that flip, right? I don't know what's possible. The Bolero's not my favorite. It's growing on me slightly.
But it's not the material, it's him. He's good because he's like performing with his all. So you get that sort of, I don't want to say desperation because that's the wrong word, but you get that like he's skating for his life every time. And that there's something enticing about that energy. It just doesn't really match it's not the movement itself. Where I'm looking at Vincent's step sequence and I'm like, wow, what a beautifully constructed step sequence this is. But yet it's not necessarily being sold to maximum capacity. And then Shoma has sort of like almost generic material, but his energy and performance projection is such that I'm excited by it, even though it's not so sophisticated.
Yeah, I agree. I have to say, I also enjoyed this rebirth of Jun Hwan Cha from Korea.
Yes.
Just, 3 years ago, one of our favorites, right? And
yes.
Then, yeah. Had like probably 2, down years, but really nice to see him doing so well. The quad toe was great here. Overall, when he has a moment with that Ina Bauer and just the overall soft knees, it's very pleasant skater to watch.
There's almost like, there's such a release in his body that like, I know sometimes this come across as informal or something like that, but it's so nice. Like there's something like, again, just sort of released in the overall deportment that I just really respond to. The short has been quite successful for him this season in particular. Yeah, I don't know. It's nice to see him sort of coming back because I think this is a very interesting skater who has interesting material. So yeah, I've been enjoying it.
What was your moment of the week overall?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I'm impressed by the Wakaba triple axel in the short program. I'm gonna say though, like, I think it was the Japanese pair girls' response to realizing she'd won another medal. It almost reminded me of when you see those skaters center ice at the end of the Olympics, release it all the minute their program is done. There's something so amazing about that.
It was really tough.
And you just were like, wow, she was carrying a lot in that. I didn't, you're suddenly like, she seems so even keeled and all this sort of stuff. But I was like, clearly she felt the weight of this competition and she could release it. And it was a positive moment. And the more feel good moments I get at this point in the season, especially after the story like Daria, it's really heartwarming for me.
I have to say, Wakaba's triple axel. I was like, hey now, this is changing it and changing the dynamic. So,
And you could almost see the coach in the kiss and cry. I'm pretending I know what the vibe was, but you almost sensed he was like, see, I told you. Like she doubted she could do it or she doubted they would go with her. And then when it worked and then they responded, I think there was like see, we could do this. Yeah.
See? Holding edge, you look sexy, everyone. Fuck up.